Hey everybody, since my own upload queue is getting fairly ridiculous and a number of goons post some pretty good replays lately in the World of Tanks thread on Something Awful, I've decided to change things up a bit and I will be showing some replays from other goons. You'll also be able to see them playing some tanks that I either don't have or am terrible at. So here we are watching Serb play his Type 58. Which is certainly one tank I don't have. I went up through the light tanks. I think I skipped the 5916. I went straight from the Type T34, which I skipped most of, to the Wheezy 131. So I haven't played the Type 58 yet, although I do kind of want to get one. It may look just like the Soviet T-3485, but there are some differences. If you ask Prav from the SA forums, he will give you quite a detailed breakdown on why this is a good tank. Replete with anime pictures and many emoticons. Unlike in one of my own replays, Serb is electing to stay back at the start, finding a nice camouflage position and waiting for the enemies to come to him. Now if this was me playing, obviously I would have charged straight down one of the flanks already and I'd probably be missing half my health. So for that reason alone, sometimes it is good to see other people playing. These won't be in any particular order, they'll more or less be in whichever order I happen to watch them in. So there may be games that were sequential when they were played, mixed up with other games in between. It doesn't really matter. The Type 58 may not have the best gun handling in the world, but it does have pretty good DPM. The gun isn't bad. I'm operating purely on memory here. As I said, I don't own this tank, but I think it has worse pen than the T-3485. And I think slightly worse gun handling, but it has very good DPM, and the tank has certain aspects to it that make it actually somewhat better than the T-34 in a lot of respects. If only I could remember what they actually were, I'd be able to tell you right now. Perhaps I should have done my research. Now this is how you play the west side of this map. Instead of charging down to the castle from north, which leaves you hopelessly exposed to both arty and tanks in the open where these guys are now, it's better to have maybe one or two people spot down there and then a bunch of people sit where Serb is right now, just pouring fire down on these guys, because as you'll shortly see when this guy pipes up in chat, they never spot him. He's just sitting here firing constantly, and they have a vague inkling where he is, but they can't actually see him. Unfortunately, his team is beginning to collapse around him. Again, a function of charging in there. I mean, this isn't even a fully upgraded KV-1S. That's it looks like the 85mm gun, but it doesn't need to be fully upgraded when you have people just charging into flat ground, completely open like that. With the last couple of enemy tanks hidden behind the castle, Serb decides to move up, and there we go. T-150 says he never saw him. The KV-1 is oblivious, so that's an obvious target. But its 85mm gun is pretty scary in this tier, so it's best not to sit in front of it while it's busy looking at him. And so he decides to go around the castle and push in from the other side. Still has most of his hit points, in fact nearly all of his hit points, so he's got a lot to play with. The enemy tanks don't. Jumbo gets dealt with by the Electro. Unfortunate snapshot there, went into the brick wall, but KV-1 gets finished with a shot to the engine. Already at 2200 damage, that's pretty respectable in a tier 6 medium. Granted, it is a tier 6 match, but most players would be struggling to get more than 1000. The east side's finally collapsed, so Serb starts moving north, sticking to his own side of the map so as not to overextend and get surrounded, and also to single out tanks as they cross the bridge. It's much easier to defend from this ridgeline than it is to try and push around the enemy team alone. Finishes off the M6 there. And now he's got 2 Shermans and a T-34-85 heading for his cap. One of the Shermans already on the cap, the Easy 8. Once again working in camouflage, he's able to get a quick shot off to get a reset. And then as the Easy 8 runs, he's actually got a shot on the regular M4 as well, who would have been safe if he'd driven forwards, but he reversed back into the line of fire for some reason. And this is why you carry fire extinguishers, even on your lower tier tanks. And there he goes, he burned to death. 3200 damage now in a tier 6 medium. And a top gun secured. Unfortunately, Serb's not out of the woods yet. It's neck and neck pretty much. And he bounces off the back of a Leopard. He bounces off the front of a Leopard. Bounces off the side of a Leopard. And then finally he's able to pen it and kill it. It wasn't so much a problem with the gun's pen, but more a problem with the gun handling. It just was RNGing shots to everywhere but where it needed to send them. It's still 1 for 1 at this point. 3 tanks per team. The difference is Serb's team has him on it at 7 kills now. The VK is still pretty healthy, which is good to see. The TOG is just suiciding off alone towards the enemy cap, but he's one-shottable anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Serb gets lit here by the T-34, presumably, which was last spotted across the bridge. And there goes the TOG. So it wasn't actually the T-34 which spotted him. He's moved south. That would have meant it would have to be the T-40, you would think. Sure enough, there it is. Serb ignores it for now. Gets into cover before he thinks about engaging it, and seems to have gone AFK. In fact, it then tries to drown itself. I'm not sure what's going on in the mind of that puppy. Probably nothing, like the minds of most puppies, but it doesn't work out for him. And that's Arabely Walters for Serb, who has made almost 4k damage out of a tier 6 game. Now I'll have to see if I can find the link to the actual replay for this, because that'll have the post games in it. It was some obscene amount of experience, absolutely obscene. I think it was 3,000 something. I can't remember if there were any special modifiers applied to it or not. If I can find the actual link, I'll put it in the video description so you can go check out the post-game results for yourselves. Either way, I don't think we need the full details to tell us exactly what's been going on in this match. It's pretty clear. Enemy T-14 says it's easy to get Arableys when 14 of the enemy team are tomatoes. It's not quite accurate, because if you look, most of Serb's team are also tomatoes, and it's been a very close match the whole time. Really, all through the match it's been neck and neck. and so he's been forced to sort of do the lion's share of the work as his puppies die around him. So this really was quite a power carry. It's one thing to do 3 or 4k damage in a tier 8 or 9 match and get a couple of important kills on tanks and establish map control and so on, but it's quite another to do the vast majority of damage in a medium tank in a match. I mean, if I was trying to figure out a way of explaining this, this is more or less equivalent to a tier 9 or 10 medium getting over 8k damage in a single match. He is just doing all the work here. M41 is lit. Unfortunately, RNG sends that shell off into the dirt behind the M41. I'm not quite sure how, but it found a way. M41 messes up his shotgun though, so Serb's safe. And he's able to aim and take it out. Now it's just the T-3485 left, who is very low on hit points, only 88 last time he was spotted within Serb's render range. And I can't imagine that's going to last him very long at all. Serb now at 9 kills, he's looking for his 10th for the Pools medal. Very difficult medal to get. It took me until I had about 13,000 matches before I got my first one in my Wheezy 120, and it was more luck than skill. I just got set up for it perfectly by my own team and the enemy team. My second Pools medal was in a KV, which doesn't really count if I'm honest, because it was Himmelsdorf in a tier 5 match, and it's a KV. That's just what it does. This is a kind of outlandishly good result I would imagine somebody picking up in a Cromwell in a tier 6 game. Maybe an ARL KV1S, something like that. Type 58, you really don't expect it, although it is a good tank. A nice snapshot there, which actually managed to RNG into the right place for once. Serb picks up the win. And Pools medal and 4k damage in the tier 6 tank, and a shitload of XP and credits, and he almost ran himself out of AP. Well, he did run himself out of AP, he almost ran himself out of APCR as well, which would have been quite a disaster. So, I mean, what conclusions can we draw from this? The Type 58, good tank. Serb, good at playing tanks. Tier 6 matches, you kind of have to play more conservatively because your teams are lower tier, they're less experienced, they're bound to do something stupid. I mean, it goes without saying World Tanks players will do something stupid no matter what tier it is or no matter what tank they're driving. But at tier 6, really any tier below 8 these days, even up to and including 8, you have to really keep an eye on what your team's doing, because more often than not they'll just drive straight into the enemy's guns. So you do have to kind of sit back and use them as bait. It's not very pleasant, but you just have to do it to keep yourself alive, because if you don't stay alive you're going to lose. And obviously there's a very large distinction between baiting competent players and baiting terrorbads who are only going to suicide anyway. You may as well make their suicide not completely in vain. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed watching it because it's always fun to watch pubbies get dunked on. Sorry. And there's a couple more replays I want to show you from other goons, and then I will end up eventually getting back to my own queue someday. I don't know. I've got a lot of videos to upload and not a lot of time to do it, but we will see. Thanks for watching, and as ever, I wish you luck on the field, and hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you, and see you next time.